I will call to order the Town of Old Saybrook Zoning Commission meeting for Monday, February 2nd of 2026 at 7 p.m. Town Hall, first floor conference room at 302 Main Street, Old Saybrook. Please stand and do the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, to call, roll call, excuse me, myself, Mark Caldarella as chair. Derek Kennedy, vice chair, is absent. John Henry, secretary, is absent. We have Laura Gray and Robin Kelly, regular commission members. Seated for Derek, we'll have Michael Kelly. And seated for John Henry, we'll have Casey Hand. Brenda is absent. Joanne, our regular clerk, is off tonight, and we have Janice. Janice, I don't remember your last name. Quinn as our recording secretary, and our CEO is absent. In the audience, we have 2, 4, 6, and online, I think we have what, 5? No, 7, 8. We have 8 online. Our regular business, we have our minutes from our last meeting of Monday, January 5th. I'll make a motion to approve. Are there any, is there a second? Second by Laura Gray. Any discussions, corrections, additions? I didn't see any. Not hearing any. Move to a vote. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstains, passes 5-0-0. Our correspondence this evening is all related to the applicants that we have on the agenda. So we'll move into our public hearings. A petition to amend the old Saybrook zoning regulations to permit a product pickup window as an accessory use to an existing cannabis dispensary facility, adult use, in the Gateway Business B4 District, Section 9, new definition, cannabis dispensary facility product pickup window, Section 53, new special standard for cannabis dispensary facility product pickup window, and new Section 34.2.17 to allow cannabis dispensary facility product pickup window in the B4 district. The applicant is 5 Custom LLC. The agents are attorney Matthew Rosenthal and Joseph Hammer. Our action is to open public hearing, continue or close by March 2nd, 2026, and no later than March 8th of 2026. So who will be presenting? Mr. Chairman, welcome.
Yeah, Attorney Joseph Hammer for the applicant, 5 Custom LLC. And as you read, Mr. Chairman, the proposed amendment would create a new accessory use category, cannabis dispensary facility product pickup window, and it would establish standards for that use under Section 53 of the regulations. The proposed amendment is very narrow in scope. The definition that would be added to Section 9 of your regulations, this accessory use would apply only to an approved cannabis dispensary facility, both medical and adult use, located in the B4 zoning district. And those types of facilities are permitted under your zoning regulations, as you know, only if they receive the certificate of zoning compliance prior to January 2022. So it's a very limited universe that's out there. And in addition, the proposed accessory use window would be allowed to be used only for pickup of cannabis products that have been pre-ordered by customers on a remote basis, pre-ordered remotely. No browsing, no modification of orders at the time of pickup at the window, no initiation of new orders at the pickup window would be permitted. And in this and other respects, the proposed accessory use is quite distinct and different from the drive-through window accessory use category that you currently have in your regulations, which applies to things like coffee shops, fast food restaurants, banks, etc. It's quite different in terms of its applicability to a very narrow universe and the controls that would be imposed on it. And I'd like to briefly walk you through our proposed language and regulations. First off, and importantly, if the amendment were approved, the use itself, the accessory use itself would require a special exception from this commission. And as you know, during the special exception review process, you essentially examine the use for a specific site and you look at the characteristics of the site and you make a determination in terms of whether you think it's in keeping with the site and would not result in adverse impacts to the property or the surrounding area. And that's a very detailed review, and you have the opportunity through that review to impose conditions as well. Also in our proposed language, and again, this part of it would be in section 53. As I mentioned earlier, operational limitations would include only allowing pickup of pre-ordered products, no ordering at the window of product, and no modification of existing orders at the window. This would provide a more efficient method of a customer picking up pre-ordered product without having to exit their vehicle or park the vehicle for those people who choose to do that. In addition, I think unlike drive-through windows as opposed to this proposed pickup window, this proposed regulation will allow a single window for pickup only. It would also have limitations on the number of transactions, the number of orders that could be picked up per every 30-minute period would be limited, and that number would be established as part of your special exception process. And I think that gives you a tool to ensure that there won't be a backup of cars or people waiting, given the limitation on the number of pickups that could be scheduled in a half-hour period. Also required under the proposed regulation is a vehicle diversion area, an area where staff could direct a vehicle out of line into a parking or waiting area that's protected from pedestrian walkways, to an area that they could safely park if additional time were needed for a particular pickup. So they could be directed out of the line to avoid holding others up. In addition, the regulation indicates that there must be a stacking lane with sufficient capacity to prevent vehicles from spilling over into parking areas, and also that are adequately protected from pedestrian walkways and entrances. And again, that's something that you would have an opportunity to look at based on a specific site and determine what is adequate in that circumstance for that site. Also, signage requirements would be imposed, and signage, for example, would be posted clearly stating before people get into the drive-through that this drive-through is limited to confirmed and scheduled pre-orders, and if you're not in that category, then you should not enter this line. So that would also be part of it. I think if this were approved in a given special exception situation, the applicant could also work with you if you deem the other signage to be something that you'd like to see. Security measures. First off, this type of facility, as you know from prior applications, must comply with state of Connecticut security measures and have a security plan on file with the state. Here, there already is, requirement for camera coverage on the exterior of the facility, but that would also, under our proposed regulation to you, it would indicate that the camera coverage must include the pickup window area and that must be incorporated in and reflected in that security plan on file with the state. So again, we've attempted in the proposal to really gear it towards pickup only, as distinguished from the type of quote drive-through windows, which are common and people have experience with. And those obviously, those are situations where people are driving up to a window, looking at a menu, deciding what they want to order, waiting for it to be cooked, et cetera, which can be a lengthy process. And here, very, very limited just to pick up of what's been pre-ordered. And I wanted to, and I think you have all of this in your file, but just wanted to quickly note there were numerous referrals on the proposed text amendment. Your town fire marshal indicated that he had no issues. Your town building official indicated he had no issues. The town planning commission issued a favorable recommendation to this commission, finding that the proposed text amendment is consistent with the town's plan of conservation and development, noting that this proposed amendment would help in retaining existing businesses, supporting economic growth, character, and public safety. The Lower Connecticut River Valley Council of Governments issued a favorable advisory report dated December 29th, 2025. They found the proposal to be consistent with the regional plan of conservation and development. They also recognized in their letter how the proposed cannabis pickup window accessory use is different than drive-through uses associated with food establishments, pharmacies, and banks. And they noted that the proposed amendment supports the regional planning goal of taking measures necessary to support a sustainable and resilient economy, support innovative business models meant to allow local businesses to adapt to changing economic climates. Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, in their letter, found that the proposed amendment is consistent with the Connecticut Coastal Area Management Act. The Connecticut River Gateway Commission found in its referral letter that the proposed amendment does not conflict with gateway standards and will not impact zoning regulations inside the gateway conservation zone. And they concluded that they had no opposition to the amendment. And I think, as the Lower Connecticut River Valley Council of Governments indicated, we believe that this would further the number of goals in your plan of conservation and development, attraction of new businesses and emerging industries, providing employment opportunities for community members, retaining a diverse base of businesses, and retaining and growing local businesses that provide quality long-term employment. So that's an overview of the text that we propose, the accessory use that we propose, and I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone may have.
Just to clarify on the planning commission's recommendation, is that the chairman wanted to add in his comments that the commission was concerned about stacking the spaces in their referral, which is something that we can talk about. Actually, it doesn't apply until an application is presented, but we have probably a couple of questions to that.
Okay.
Previous. Also for the commission, the reason why we defined it as a pickup window versus a drive-through window is that if we had positioned it all as drive-through, we opened up the whole discussion on drive-through, which in this given situation didn't merit that need to do. So that's why we came up with a new definition of a pickup window. And also that it only applies to 2 locations in the town of Saybrook. The location on Custom Drive that they're here for, and the Pine Meadow location on the other side of town. So those are the only 2 locations in the town that it would apply to. Commissioners have questions for the applicant? Please go ahead. Go ahead, Casey.
2 questions. One is more narrow, one is broader. The more narrow question is really just regarding language, in terms of the sign for that indicates that, it's for pre-ordered pickups only. Can we clarify or specify a little more in the proposed regulation that that sign should be posted in a place that is visible prior to entering the drive-through the queue, so that somebody doesn't get in the line and then see it, and then it creates like a conundrum for them?
I think we
I
certainly.
think that's understood, but I just wanted to
I
specify
think we
that.
certainly could,
Okay.
and again, I just would also emphasize that regardless of whether
We'll get
that's
it,
stated, yes, separately or not, it would be completely within your purview in terms of where it should be placed, whether there should be more than one, how big they should be,
Right.
et cetera, the exact language and everything you would have oversight over.
In a special exception
Yes.
application, yes.
All right, and then my other sort of broader question, and you kind of touched on it. We have a very elaborate set of regulations regarding drive-through windows, specifically in the B4 zone. And I know that the commission went to great lengths to develop those. So my question is, and I'll say, I don't have any objections in general to this concept, but I want to understand or hear from you why those regulations shouldn't apply in this situation, such as location of the pickup area, minimum stacking requirements, things like that.
Sure, so I think the premise of this was obviously that it would only apply to the cannabis use, which, as has been described by the chairman, is a very narrow universe to begin with, so I think that was part of it. I think also part of it is those regulations that you have now get into a lot of details that are certainly appropriate for a McDonald's or a Starbucks or a CVS pickup window, but driven in large part by the incredibly heavy turnover that those types of uses have, and the time that those transactions can take. And many of those things just, are not frankly necessary given the nature of this window being limited to pickup only. And I think also importantly, that you would have control to say X number of transactions per 30 minutes cannot be exceeded, which is sort of the antithesis of what we all experience when we go to CVS to pick up a prescription, and it can be very, very crowded. So, you hold that level of control, and certainly if you were dealing with a special exception on this in the future, you also have the ability to say, we want to be kind of strict in the beginning in what that numerical capacity should be until we see how it plays out ultimately. And then an applicant can always come back and say, it's working great with X number per half hour. We'd like to up that a little bit. But again, totally within your control and comfort level at that stage. So, your existing regulations, they apply to multiple different types of uses that are the true drive-through versus this limited pickup only. And we started, we kept it separate, and we also thought that it would be easier to follow because you have a section in your definitions that deal with all the subcategories of cannabis related uses, and that to put it in that context unique to cannabis just also flowed in an understandable, simple fashion to sort of keep it as a freestanding cannabis universe of regulations.
What would the difference be? CVS is a pick only. It's just that you're talking about their volumes can be.
I think their volumes are incredibly and also unlimited. They're basically just whoever shows up, at least in my experience.
Right, but it is just a pickup.
No, they do COVID tests.
Yeah.
Well, you try.
There's multiple.
Well, you stop, you wait, they hand you the thing,
Right.
swab you in the back.
The uniqueness of the drive or pickup, okay, is uniqueness of what the category is here that we're discussing as cannabis. And in reality, the chairman's opinion is probably only applies to one location in town of the two, which is this one on Custom Drive, because of Fine Federals is more of a landlocked
Right.
position. And the uniqueness of the different requirements that the state puts on cannabis sales that have to be met, that this is all pre-sold. Obviously can't be prepaid because you can't take credit cards yet because of the national law over supersedes that, so they have to pay for it on site. So the feeling was of the type of business that it is and the uniqueness that it has, and given its two locations in town, that a pickup window really was a simplistic form of a purchase versus banks, pharmacies, etc. Where you could pull up for the first time and do whatever you wanted at the window and deal with it, you know, like during COVID, you could get a COVID test. They're a little bit different, and it appeared that in discussion that Chris had with you, that it was a more simplistic and cleaner approach to the conversation and to the applicant's request.
Yes, and I think I said it before, but and added to that is uniqueness, being that we're basically saying in the regulation, you must establish a permitted number of pickups.
Right, and as we all know, that's what happens in a special exception, is that's when we detail down the stacking and
Okay, that's fine, because
various other
concern would be,
concerns, because, you know, where's the pullout? Where's the pullout area, right? Where's the map that shows the drive-through and the location and how many can you stack?
can you start, right?
It is the verbiage that is being proposed here adequate enough to allow us to address those when and if a special exception comes forth.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I think that the limitation on the number is really important too, like the number per hour, because I wanted to be able to say, if CVS comes in and says, well, why can't I do that? Why can't we have a pickup window? I want to be able to explain clearly what the difference is, and so I think that's very helpful.
Right, and also to this point, the CVS isn't allowed to sell any cannabis product.
Well, right,
Right.
Which is the other part too, which helps
Right.
the scenarios.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, I just wanted to clarify, when you're talking about the stacking lane, is that the lane where people wait if there's a problem, or is that the lane that the cars go through?
Stacking lane is the lane that the cars go through.
Okay. And is it it's too premature to talk about the timing, like how long, how many cars?
Well, they put in their proposal here that we have the right to limit the number
So
for every
I can
30
ask them,
minutes.
so then-
Yeah, you could ask them their insight in that.
Exactly. Is the store open now?
No,
Okay, do they have any other stores?
No.
Okay, so
So-
you don't really have an idea of how long a transaction takes?
Well, thanks.
Matt Rosenbaum, attorney with Joe, I've done several drive-through cannabis locations in the state of Connecticut, or from representing several. The average pickup window time is 2 to 3 minutes.
That's what I was thinking.
It is
sure.
pass your license, pass your cash or ATM, it give you the point of sale machine, they pass you your product. It's 1, 2, 3, it is very quick.
Yeah.
Sometimes transactions are under 2 minutes.
You know, our last meeting, we talked about having the law going as of 1940 and then see how long it takes. Would it be possible to say like every 10 minutes a car comes and you do a little market research and say the average transaction is 2 to 3 minutes, can we reduce it to 5 minutes?
I think again, assuming that the regulation, the amendment were allowed, I think at the special exception phase, we would certainly come to you and address more specifics on what we believe might be an appropriate timeframe.
Sure.
We definitely drill into that more and be able to give you some more examples of that. But again,
Yeah.
it's emphasizing it's all in your.
If they were in front of us for a special exception and we were discussing the stacking and they said every 2 minutes, we would be like, well, we don't think that that's great. Maybe it's 5 minutes, maybe it's 8 minutes
Yeah.
or something like that. That's that's when we get into that detail, but it's helpful for them to find here what their experiences are at this point, because I'm sure that's a question we all had, I had it in my mind as well.
So again, we included that intentionally just for the commission to really have a very direct line of control, since that, you know, is important to the whole process, and it really gives you discretion to determine at a later application phase what you think is appropriate.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yes,
Question. Out of curiosity, who proposed these revisions or new text?
We did.
You,
We
okay.
drafted these, and as we did have some discussion, you know, with Ms. Costa's material, but we wrote all of
Very
this.
good,
Yes.
okay, just curious about that. And then, do we have any concerns about other types of businesses, wanting to do something similar? I know this is just for
Yeah.
cannabis, but will this set a precedence
we
for?
don't think so, Laura, it doesn't appear at this time a business that's within the boundaries of the town of Saybrook that have similar characteristics of this type of operation that would request that. Is there a possibility? Well, certainly, there will be, there could be. And probably would be handled separately and maybe more positioned with drive-through than a pickup. And I don't think we want to have too many variations of accessing something by car versus going into an establishment. So, but, there's none known at this point that I could think, maybe some of the
It's
Mm-hmm.
others should.
not a concern, it's.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, no.
I think that's why the distinctions between that type of business and some of the other types of businesses and how they
Yeah.
function are important, because I believe also they can sort of schedule with people. Okay, you come at this time, you come at this time, I mean,
Yeah.
that's how it's handled now,
Right.
so.
Right.
Whereas like a pharmacy or a drive-through, you know, restaurant isn't going to and doesn't say,
Yeah,
let's
they can
people, like,
appointments.
they're not gonna come in here and say, yeah, sure, we'll limit ours to like this many pickups per hour, because that's just not how they function.
Yes. Right. And I think having that pre-scheduling also ensures that the order will be ready
Right.
at the allotted
Right.
time.
Right.
to get there, unlike if you go to pick up food and they're still cooking it or whatever,
Right.
other examples.
Right. Any others, questions from the floor? No? In your definition, you mentioned, through an online system or other remote ordering process. What's the other remote ordering process?
I think the primary, I think, would be on their web.
Yeah, it would be a
Right.
website,
Right,
some clients use an app. They have a
so
dedicated
potentially it would
app.
be an app.
Yeah, and with the app, it's essentially a web-based,
Yeah, right,
you know, interface.
right,
In both those cases, because as you mentioned, of the federal law, none of them allow payment, so payment would always have to be on site.
so, do you know of any in Connecticut at this point that use an app?
Yes, I do,
Okay,
including,
all right, so, would we be better off defining it as an app versus other remote? I just have I don't wanna say difficulty, but it seems very generic to me. And I would think that we might wanna be a little bit more specific. The other thing we don't know of is what's the next great thing beyond an app, you know? And do we limit ourselves by doing that in discussion? I don't know how everyone feels at the table, but if that means anything or not. No?
Like other electronic forms of payment.
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, you could just refer to it, online ordering or an app. You know, like, you know, application system.
Yeah.
You
it
know,
sounds like we're okay with other remote ordering, but I just raised that question.
I have a question.
Yes.
So they have to pay when they come.
Yeah,
They can't
correct.
prepay.
Correct.
So then I would just suggest it's when the definition, it says the customer may pay, you'd say the customer shall pay.
Shall
Rick, the only possibility, I know there's been stuff in the news fairly recently, it's possible that at some point the federal government could relax those rules and would be able to prepay on a credit card, for example, before you get there. So I guess the only thought is you said shall, then we'd have to
Amended.
basically amend the reg again, but even with the word may, the reality is the cannabis operator sitting here today, unless and until the law changes, can only accept the payment at the window. So I think may is effectively a shall until the law changes, basically.
But in your item B, number 3, it says payment may occur at the window only for pre-ordered products. Given what you just said, would it allow somebody to pull up the window and then go inside and wanna pay? I mean,
No,
given that the federal law changes and you can pay by credit card, 'cause that's basically what it comes down to.
They wouldn't be able to, one, get their product until they pays.
Right.
They would have to be, the transaction process is essentially give your ID.
Right,
Um,
this may occur at the window, but there's no other option at a pickup window.
right,
You
and
pay
I,
at the pickup window.
right,
Right,
and I think the use of the word may was just because we were being so restrictive
Yeah.
on what could or couldn't happen at the window. We wanted to say it's okay to make the payment at the window.
okay. Has the state dictated security measures yet on pickup windows?
we have several operating that are currently in operation with other funds.
Are they defined by the state law?
That statement, but
The state regulator.
the state does individually, when the state does their security analysis, they come in and do inspections at multiple steps of construction. So they monitor the installation of the cameras, the installation of the vault. Then there is a detailed security plan, and that is by location. So there is no, if you have a pickup window XYZ,
Okay.
the state inspector will set hard standards on what must be done.
Any other questions, Robin?
Well, just for number 3, it seems like it might make more sense if you say payment for pre-ordered products may only occur at the window. Instead of payment may occur at the window only for pre-ordered products. It just seems like it tightens it up a little. Because it raised your question of, could they go inside and pay? No.
'Cause they really don't
So-
have an
so if
option.
you say payment for pre-order can only be made at the window, then that rules out going into the store to pay.
Are you in agreement with that?
Yeah, the only thing that the complication that could bring is if deregulation occurs and the Safe Banking Act finally passes, then payment would occur on the app.
But if that takes place, there's gonna be a lot of changes within the current regulations that we have because it doesn't allow for that now, so there'll be many changes that we'd probably have to go back in.
I don't know if it would affect your regulation other than, yeah, it still says may, so,
Right,
yeah.
I don't think it causes an
Okay,
issue if you.
all right. Do we have that defined verbiage so they can have that?
Well, I
as
just
a-
looked around and said payment for pre-ordered products may only occur at the window.
May only occur.
May only occur,
But they can also pay inside for pre-ordered products.
but not through the
Not through
pickup.
the-
window.
Not through the, right,
Right.
okay.
So that was may only pay. Did you say, Rob?
Well, no, because wait a minute, you can go and you could pre-order and say I'll come in and pick it up.
Yes,
Oh, yeah,
So then maybe that's not good. No,
that's how
then
it's
you
done
then
now.
you gotta
That's
leave it
how
like
it's
it
done.
is, yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? Do we have enough information here this evening to close public hearing on this, or is there more information?
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah. Is there anyone online or in the audience, since this is a public hearing, that would like to speak on behalf for either for or against this amendment, please raise your hand if you're online. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak? Don't see anyone. I don't see anyone raising their hand at this point, so I will ask the commission again if we have enough information on hand to close the public hearing, or is there, we want to keep it open for any additional information? No, we're all good.
I
Okay,
have one more question,
Yeah.
sorry.
no problem.
Do we need to include language to the planning commission's comments? Do we need to include language that specifically states that stacking is a consideration for the special exception, or is that already covered in our general special?
I believe it's stacking, a stack and lane must provide sufficient capacity to prevent motor vehicle spillover into parking
Okay.
areas
Yeah,
or
okay,
public right away, so I believe it's,
okay,
I believe it's there.
okay, perfect.
All right, so I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for petition to amend the old Saybrook zoning regulations to permit a pickup window as an accessory use to existing cannabis dispensary. Seconded by Rob. Yes,
As you close, may I just add one,
Sure.
just the procedural question? I know you don't have your planner with you this evening, and in the event that you, whenever you take action, whether it's tonight or another time, I wasn't sure what your practice is on setting an effective.
we would have, and we'll discuss that if you go, but we do have an effective.
Just wanted to ensure it gives
Yep.
enough time for staff to
Yep.
get the newspapers.
Yep.
Thank you. Sorry to.
No, we do have that.
Okay.
Thanks. So did we close it, or it was a second?
Second.
Second by Robin.
Yeah.
Did you got your question answered? All right, any other questions? All those in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstains, close the public hearing. Are we prepared to deliberate on this evening? Yes, yes, okay.
Sure.
Does a commissioner, would a commissioner like to make a motion?
We'll make a motion to approve a petition to amend the old Saybrook zoning regulations to permit a product pickup window as an accessory use to an existing cannabis dispensary facility, adult use in the Gateway Business B4 District, Section 9, new definition cannabis dispensary facility product pickup window, Section 53, new special standard for cannabis dispensary facility product pickup window, and new Section 34.2.17 to allow cannabis dispensary facility product pickup window in the B4 district as proposed, effective date of
March 1st.
March 1st, 2026.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mike Kelly. Is there any further discussion? Not hearing any, we'll move on to a vote. All those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstains, passes 5-0-0 with a March 1st effective date.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Moving on to B, SHM Ferry Point Marina application for special exception permit and coastal site plan review. Demolish existing marine building and construct a new 20,500 square foot building for boat storage, repair, and office space. Marine Industrial MI District, Coastal Management Zone, Connecticut River Gateway Conservation Zone, FEMA SFHA E9 Flood Zone at 228 Ferry Road, map 59, lots 102. Applicant is SHM Ferry Point LLC. Agent is John Paul Garcia. And action is to open public hearing, continue or close by March 2nd, 2026, and no later than March 8th of 2026. Mr. Garcia.
Well, for the record, yes, well, thank you very much. For the record, my name is John Paul Garcia. I'm a licensed professional engineer and land surveyor, licensed to practice in the state of Connecticut, principal office at 190 Fairwood Road, Bethany. And I'm here representing SHM, it's, you can't say it like kind of fast. Safe Harbor, I say Safe Harbor.
Yeah.
Marina. With me also is Mr. Del Simmons, who's the architect for the building. The way I like to approach this is relatively simple, is I'll give a brief overview of the site plan. I'll let Del do a brief overview of the building. And then I will go through the Nate Jacobs and Associates review comments, because there's a couple of things in there we have to discuss with the commission. So to reiterate, what we're proposing to do, there's an existing metal building that's approximately like this, it's about 22,000 square feet. What we're proposing is what's outlined here in pink, which is essentially placing a new 20,000 square foot building over the existing 22,000 square foot building. So we're reducing the size by about 1,500 or 2,000 square feet. We've already been to the health department. We have an approval, which should be part of your record. We've been to the Gateway Commission. They've reviewed it and they should have sent a positive referral to you. We've been to the Architectural Review Board. They reviewed it and they should have sent a positive review to you also. And we've been to the Planning Commission, who should have also sent you a positive review. So we've gotten positive reviews from all the commissions and boards that we've been in front of. There's no proposed site disturbance other than the actual construction of the building. We're not changing the grades, we're clipping out one corner. With the health department, we're replacing the existing holding tank, which is under the building, to a new holding tank, a new watertight holding tank, which is outside and is in better position to withstand flooding and thereby cause any pollution to the site. We've shown parking, and I'll go over that as part of the Nate Jacobs comments. So that's basically what we're doing. We're just taking down the old boat storage building and putting up a new boat storage building. And it's exactly
Where's the old boat storage building currently?
right here.
Right in the, almost the same.
Yeah, it's almost, it's. Yeah. So this will probably be the last time I use this plan. That's the old boat storage building. And so essentially, we're taking down the old one and putting up a new one. The old one, if you've been to the site, is at the end of its way past the end of its useful life. We're proposing something that is architecturally more pleasing. It conforms to the regulations, conforms to your plan of conservation and development. And I'll let Del go through the architecture briefly right now. You're on, Del.
Okay, thanks, JP. Nice job. I'd like to share my screen right now. So right now, as JP mentioned, we're tearing down the existing building and then putting up the new building. So this image that you're looking at here, highlighted in yellow, is the new building. And you can see the gray background, the gray building in the background. This is a Google site plan. And one main point is the proposed building is smaller than the existing building. Now, this image is on the building highlighted on JP's plan, and here it shows the water. And here's the building highlighted in yellow. And this second image of my C2 drawing shows the proposed building on the site. But now the building shows the recessed wall sections per the neighborhood standards. You can see that the recesses go entirely around the building. This was a part of the standards. And this is the standard right here. The articulations in the facade requires a recess every 2 feet deep for every 30 foot of wall. And so as you saw in the plan, it travels, here they are, right around the building. And this next image is of a marina that we did in 2010, the Brewer Ferry Point Marina, which was approved by the Architectural Review Board in 2010. Yes, 2010. This is the look that we proposed for the new marina. As you can see here, there are concrete bases with siding above. There are windows added, a divided light window with white trim. There's 12-inch white corner boards, as you can see here. The vertical siding will be in two colors, two gray colors. I'll show you that later. And up above, there is a continuous, uninterrupted fascia. So let me go back to an earlier drawing that I had. Go forward a couple here. Now this is the look of the new building. This is the entire, all of these are the elevations of the building. These recesses are shown in gray, and the recess will run up to the fascia, across, and then down. It doesn't go and doesn't interrupt the fascia. And here you can see the windows with trim at all of the recesses and all of the corners. These would coincide with the rainwater leaders that would drop down. The flood vents, this building requires flood vents. This building will also have a nautical flare to the doors. And as you see here, the electric panels have been elevated above the base flood elevation, and there's a stair access and platform to get to them. So this is the look of the building. What we can do a little bit, oh well, here, let's get on to the next. I'm going to show you the actual colors. And here are the colors. This cool Arctic white will be the color of the fascia, and the building will be largely this cool granite gray with the zinc gray in the recesses. Now this is a great shot to show you the existing facility as shown from a drone looking at the facility above the water. So it's close to what you see if you were coming in on a boat, but up in a mast, let's say. The next image that I have shows you our model that we prepared, a similar view, and this shows the recesses, it shows the windows, it shows the uninterrupted fascia. These are large opening garage doors, same over here. These are overhead doors. So this shows the form, the colors, the recesses, the windows, the trim, the fascia, all together as a unified whole. Now my next image shows the dark sky requirement. And this is showing 0.01 foot candles. This is residential. And here we have commercial 0.2 foot candles for commercial. And going back to my plan set, this is the photometric plan. This shows the light spread, not going outside the property. And this is the property line here on the north side, which you can see has no lights on it. All there is on this wall is 2 exit doors, and there are no wall packs on there. This shows the wall packs. This shows the photometry of each light fixture, and this meets the requirements of the dark sky standards. Now, the next portion of this shows this. Well, this completes the presentation that was given to the Architectural Review Board and for Connecticut River Gateway Commission and was accepted by both. Now, JP mentioned a letter from Jacobson Associates, and this next portion right here is also a section from that letter that was addressed with architectural requirements. Now, JP, I don't know whether you want to start to address your components of Jacobson's letter, and then I can go with mine, or if you want, I could just continue and do.
Yours right now, Del, and then I'll address mine last, because it should be
Okay,
very.
fine. Sure, I'm up to bat. I'll see what I can do here. Thank you. So, this was the letter, and it was very detailed and very precise. And I came back with my summary of changes. And the summary of changes, on the first floor, there was an ADA bathroom. But in further discussions with the owner, I found out that the owner advised me that the facility is a workspace only and not a public facility. So IBC, the International Building Code, and accessibility section 1103.2.2, it talks about employee work areas, does not require this level for a workspace only to have a toilet facility. It's fine for them to go upstairs. In the second floor of this, there are toilet facilities. So the ADA bathroom that was detailed in Jacobson's letter, the requirements for it were detailed, very highly detailed. Well, we don't need that any longer, so we are removing that ADA bathroom from the first floor. The second letter, or the second point of the letter, talked about smart vents, and the smart vents, you probably won't remember it, but the smart vents, when we have now 26 4-unit, each unit, this is a 4-unit smart vent. I have 26 of these scattered around the building. So there are over 100 smart vents now around the bottom, which will allow the water to flow in and out of the building. Let's see, the third note, my drawing has been modified to address the FEMA requirements listed on pages 4, 5, and 6 of Jacobson's comments. And the note, wet floodproofing provisions, is provided on our action plan and will be implemented. And what I mean by that is, when I submitted this set of plans again to Chris Costa, then this was highlighted. This was not highlighted. I'm highlighted here for you, but this is our intentions of meeting all of the requirements that were listed on Jacobson's letter. And they apply to this area. This represents the area. If a flood were to occur, it could occur to this level. That's the design requirement. Everything below this level meets these requirements that are stated here. I can go through them one by one if you want, but I won't do it right now. If you want me to come back, I can do that for you. Let me go back to my letter. The next point, there was a grinder pump under the slab for that bathroom down on the lower level. Since it's no longer there, the grinder pump is still going to be in place, but it will be suspended just below the mezzanine level. And then per the Connecticut River Gateway Commission's comments, the overall building will be lighter in color and the recesses will be darker to achieve a lighter overall appearance. That's the feedback that we got from the Connecticut River Gateway Commission. So JP, that wraps up my portion. If you want to take it from here, it's all yours.
Okay. To reiterate, what Dell is referring to is we received a set of review comments from Nate Jacobson Associates on January 15th, which does not allow us sufficient time to get the comments reviewed, restructured, drawings redone, get it back to the commission in time for you guys to look at it. We did submit those 2 days ago. So you should have as part of your packet a letter from Pat Munger Construction Company dated January 29th, and a letter from another one from John Paul Garcia and Associates dated January 29th, which address all the Nate Jacobson comments. And I'll go through it briefly as it pertains to my site. We also sent back a PDF of the revised drawings, and I've got to give this to the clerk of the commission tonight because Chris Costa asked for one hard copy set. She wants us to go back to Nate Jacobs, refine all the outgoing items, and come back in with a clean sign off for the next meeting.
Right, it's my understanding that we're gonna continue this to the March 2nd,
That's correct, because you have a special meeting on the 18th,
right,
which we're not part of.
but it allows for.
It allows us to clean this up.
Well, yes, it allows for a clean set with what you've
Yes.
incorporated. And gives time to Jacobson to respond
Exactly.
to your.
That is correct. That's correct.
Cause there's a lot of missing information on these.
Well, there's not as much, and that's why I wanna go over quickly, because you're gonna have to input some of that. And
Well.
well,
go
one of the
ahead.
things,
You-
I'll
go
give you an
ahead.
example.
Okay,
Your requirements are wheel stops. You require wheel stops in parking spaces.
well, yeah,
Wheel stops in a marina don't work.
well,
So-
so it's a requirement,
Not requirements or a suggestion.
right?
And,
Okay,
and so we're asking for relief from that suggestion.
Why?
Because marina, you got parking spaces in the middle of a marina. They don't work when you start moving boats around.
So-
Can you go back, Dale, go back to the aerial,
I understand marine operations.
okay, Chris, when we started this, I met with Ms. Costa to go over the parameters, and one of the things she suggested was you show parking. And we meet the parking requirements. Nate Jacobs has asked us to remove some of those parking spaces because of various things. We did. We still meet the 75. I think we required 68, we meet 75. That's only to show that we have it. The only defined spaces are near the office. Everything else floats. Because if you look at the way the site is used, what's not used for boat storage is your parking cars. So you might have boats stored on one side, there's like where that is not, there's no place to put parking around that building. If we do, and if you go to the left, which is the main yard, you can see the way the boats are stored. Well, if you have parking wheel stops spread all through that site to define parking spaces, it becomes impossible to use it. So we're asking for relief for that.
We have two seasons, basically.
Yes,
You have the boating season, where boats are in the water. Customers come in with their vehicles or whatever to go to their boats. Then you have the season of storage, where everything in the water comes out and is stored on land,
correct.
right?
Where the cars would normally would park.
Where the wheel stops become an issue, it is during the
Yes.
storage season,
That's correct.
okay? Where do customers know where to park? If there is no indication or no.
We would stripe it, but we do
Striking, but that's a gravel. that's
And we
gravel.
do that in half the marinas I work in, Stratford, Branford.
Why,
We strike the gravel
right, I know.
during the course of the year.
Right, and then it.
It disappears and then during boat season, and then they
Right.
strike it again the next year. It's a constant process, but they do strike the gravel and it does work. The wheel stops will just make it impossible to move a boat around. Because
It
you
would
gotta
make
anchor
it would make it more challenging for the marina to remove the wheel stops in the off season to store boats and then put them back in place for the season.
Well, challenging is a great word. It's difficult, it's not impossible.
It's not impossible.
Well, that's true, but it's not practical. That's one thing.
I think we would debate that, but that's okay.
Okay. Well, we're asking.
We want an understanding as to why you don't want to do, or the applicant does not want to do wheel stops.
Because it's impractical to. For example, we've got the wheel stops down, you got a hurricane coming. That happens on occasion. How do you start getting boats out of the water while you're trying to remove wheel stops?
It's a valid point.
You know, there's certain practicalities to how marinas operate that aren't germane to like how shopping center parking lots operate. And one of them is you have to have flexibility and mobility, because this year you might have you might have 40 60-foot boats. Next year you might have 60 20-foot boats. Everything's in flux.
I understand.
The reason for the bigger building is the same thing. More boats are going inside, they'll have fewer bigger boats outside. So the flexibility on how to use the site is paramount.
But there's no definition in the current plans that I have seen, maybe other commissioners see it, and I missed it, that indicates that you're gonna stripe them on a continuing basis during.
We can, and that's why we're bringing this up in discussion. I'll be more than happy to put that on the plans and show the striping. I've got a parking field laid out. We can show that striped easy.
But you also have ADA, locations within the gravel area.
This area, the ADA is right here. And that's the office.
But I think there was one just below.
I covered that. We took,
Okay.
we took this
So,
out.
so when we're looking at prints, we're looking at an incomplete set.
That's what, that's correct.
So we cannot make a intelligent decisions or adequate to the zoning regulations of the town of Saybrook if we're looking at incomplete information.
No, but you can give me direction on how to proceed. That's what we're looking for, and you just gave it to me. You just gave it to me, you said there's nothing here that indicates that these would be striped. Or there is, but there's another drawing that gets,
ADA is another thing. You have,
That's right.
I think, 3 locations.
yeah, we only need, I have one here and one here,
Yeah, I think there was a third up above maybe.
which it was here.
Yeah.
I took these out of here and I took
So
some of
we,
these
so we,
spaces out.
so we need to know. Where
That's
we
been
want the
changed.
location.
That's been changed. And I'll add a note to the drawings. There was one more thing. He asked for sidewalk. And we didn't show him on the original drawing. We were gonna ask for a waiver. We're gonna put the sidewalks on. We're gonna run the sidewalk up along Ferry
What
Road.
about the trees?
Again, there's no place to put trees where they will survive.
There's only one curb cut off of Ferry Road into that property.
There's. Correct, that's this one here,
So why would you not be able to put trees?
here.
If you,
This goes to the house. This is boat and parking storage. This is the main access
Right.
here into the marina.
Right.
So we're not proposing to remove any landscaping either there or some limited landscaping down over here. There's no place to put trees where they will live.
we're talking about streetscape on the road. For trees.
Yeah, if you put trees up here, we could possibly put trees at the end of the parking aisles. But again, that interferes with boat storage.
The picture that your associate showed earlier of the facility right around the corner. From where this.
That's not, okay, yes,
Has trees skewed,
correct,
right, and they were put there.
but we're not parking boats there.
It's part of, and it's one of the issues that Mr. Jacobson,
And that's why I'm discussing it, because we're looking for relief from that.
well, you were looking for relief from sidewalks, but now you're saying you're.
Yeah, that we can accommodate, it's easy enough to accommodate.
Well, trees are part of that. All right, and streetscape,
Okay,
okay, so it's something that.
okay,
We want-
we'll look
we're
at
gonna
it
want
and I'll revise the drawings to, if it's deemed necessary, I'll revise the drawings to show trees.
Well, no, we're having this discussion.
I understand that.
We're, commission, you're gonna hear from the other commission.
Exactly.
But these are some of the bigger, matters.
Those are the only two that really, that I had questions about. The rest of the stuff that,
I mean, I cut you short from your presentation, so I
no, no,
apologize, you can.
the purpose of this was to try to get your feedback so that we can firm up the application and only have to submit one more revised
Sure, I
set.
understand, I'm trying to give you guidance,
And that's,
so you know what to do.
Yep.
And when you come back, it's.
it's done.
presented, it's done, and can get approved.
Yes, that's correct.
Right, we're all on the same page on that.
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Chairman.
No, don't do that, please.
What,
Mr.
Chairman? Yes, sir.
Yeah, both. Thank you.
When you're brought up on the diet of John Wayne,
Yes, yeah.
you always do that.
But go ahead and finish.
No, that's basically it. Those were the only two items that Nate Jacobson raised that we had issues with.
Okay.
You know, we trust the sidewalks, but my client said, put the sidewalks in, so we'll put the sidewalks in.
Commissioners, do you have questions? Go ahead, please.
I think this started to be part of the conversation. So just for the record for me, can you tell me how long this, like the gravel has been down?
It's 65.
Okay,
It's been an operating marina since prior to 65.
Oak Leaf
But-
Marina was acquired by Safe Harbors last year, I think it was.
Yeah,
So we've been
okay.
operating for many years.
Well, the building was built, the reason I say that, the building was built in 65, the big building. So we know it's been operating. And since prior, if you look at the old aerials, you can go onto the magic site for the state of Connecticut, look at old aerials to see how it was used. And it all shows gravel site. Filled. This site was filled behind the bulkhead, which is why I don't wanna put the trees down low because they won't grow. That's why we can't put a septic system in. We have a holding tank.
Right.
Why don't you think the trees will grow?
Because the material down low, where the boatyard proper is all fill. That's all, the ledge, if you look at the way the site is. The reason they're using the flat area is because when they built the yard, they used what they could use very easily. And prior to the enactment of wetlands regulations, especially marinas and water dependent uses, they just drove the sheet pile and filled behind it and created the land. So the stuff that's behind there is essentially, whatever they could get cheap. It's garbage, it's fill, who the hell knows what's in there?
You're talking down by the river.
Yeah, now, we were talking before about the trees up on the treescape, which is an entirely different
Right,
operation.
okay, that's fine.
And that, I will go over, that's correct.
Okay.
And that's where, we're gonna address that in the revised drawings.
So the area that's highlighted in green on the plans over there, that's intended to be landscaped area?
That's existing,
Existing landscaped area,
that we're not touching.
okay. Okay, so a couple of things. My biggest concern is about the storage that's occurring within the right of way. Because
We're taking that out.
okay, so that's all getting removed,
Yes, those parking spaces are all coming out.
okay.
This is what I was afraid of. We have a revised set of drawings I sent to Nate Jacobs, but I sent the PDF to Chris, but
Sure,
it's,
okay.
we now have overlapping sets in the bottom.
We had received a email with PDF attachments,
Yeah.
but from my perspective, okay, it's very difficult for me to look at it on.
No, I understand.
screen. I like the paper, I'm old school. Okay.
Well,
and-
it wouldn't have been fair to dump a
Right,
9 sets of
right.
drawings on
I
it with the
knew,
last
I knew
second.
we were gonna continue this.
Yes.
At our March meeting, so.
But those are all coming out. That was one of Nate Jacobs, and that's where the chairman has mentioned putting street trees. That's
Yeah.
what we're gonna look at,
That's important.
because we can't put trees in the right of way.
Okay. All right, and then my other question is I don't know if it's for your architect or for you, the portion of the building that is being it's on, I guess, the west side of the building, is being removed and not replaced. At the top. Over, yeah, right there, that portion. So that part is the only part that's not essentially being rebuilt on, right? What is that going to,
It'll just be open parking or storage,
okay,
both storage.
There, this shows it a little bit better right here.
See it?
Here's that structure you were talking about right there.
no, I'm
she's
actually
about
talking about
behind-
At the
west.
northwest
Oh,
corner,
this piece,
There.
this piece? Oh, I see.
Yeah.
that'll end up probably being both storage.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what I just,
I know.
oh,
I think you.
that was
Is he, Del, are you still on?
Yeah,
Yes,
it's right
I am. What were you asking?
Will that be boat parking or is the topographic, layout of that land not conducive to that?
That's, well, here's the, whoops. Let me go back
Show them
to
the corner where we're putting a retaining wall in.
right here.
Yes,
Here it is. As you can see, this whole area is wide open there. And it could be used for boat storage back there.
and we're putting a
Wide open.
retaining wall.
Is that defined on this plan?
Yeah, Your retaining wall is up in here.
That allows us access to the back of the building.
Mhm.
I can label that a cold storage if you'd like to.
So is that how the parking lot adjacent, the parking area adjacent to that building and that boat storage area are accessed?
Yes, you would access it this way then. These parking spaces are coming out, so you would come in this way.
So that's going over the CLNP property?
Yeah, there's an easement in place,
There's an easement.
there are
Okay,
easements in
okay,
place,
Okay,
to allow the use of the CLNP property.
oh,
This site does not function without that parcel.
okay. So
And-
those things would be helpful for me to see.
Yeah,
what the
I will
plan
match
says?
that.
Okay. And then I think that addressed my general questions. I also. Just want to make sure I got it. Yeah, and then I also would just echo the chairman's questions or concerns about how we're designating parking and how we're designating it, especially the handicap accessible spaces, because those obviously there are specific requirements for.
That's correct, and we need at least two.
Yeah, so, however that ends up, I wanna make sure that those can be accessed and that those are
Correct.
holding up the signage and all of that for those.
And that's
I'm
what we'll
wondering-
have to find in the
Yes.
next set of drawings.
I'm wondering if you could at least put wheel stops on some of the peripheral parking spaces. Then a lot of them, or at least, because I do, when people are using the marina in, during the season. I think the spaces, like you have these 20 spaces in the middle area here, it's going to be difficult every year to go out and strike those like in the right spot.
They, like I said, I have a number of marinas that, we restripe, and they may move them around a little bit, but it works. They restripe the gravel, and it works nicely.
Okay, all right,
But it's very simple to put wheel stops in along behind the units against the bulkhead and against the, property line.
okay,
I will indicate those spaces.
okay. And then these spaces that were being removed up front, so then is everything kind of jogging back on the property? Is that how that's?
No, just taking the spaces
You're
out.
just taking
We
it
had
out?
98 spaces, we're down to 75,
Okay,
and you only need 68. According to the,
okay. And
according to the parking calculations.
last question, I promise.
Please.
This building the front building is that still a single family house?
Yes,
Okay, and do we need to account for parking for that in our parking requirement?
they have parking in their, they have parking for
Yeah.
both houses in their driveways and their garages.
Okay, so they have enough garage.
They have their
space to
own
meet that
parking.
They need to be defined.
They should be.
They defined? Okay,
clarified,
for both.
yeah.
Both residential properties.
Yeah.
Define
okay.
parking. For both residences.
Question on what I'm looking at on C2.
She,
The property is defined in the black dotted spaced line, correct?
yeah, that's this line here.
Yeah, right. So as I see it on here, that the property line crosses through the parking areas that you allocate.
Those spaces are all coming out.
Well, okay, so those are not, so that's not your property, not the
No.
applicant's property.
That's not the applicant's property, that's correct.
Okay,
I mean, it's presently being used, it's gravel, and that's when I said, you said you wanted trees, I've got area to put trees in.
right. So those parking spaces will be made up elsewhere on the property.
We don't,
You don't need those.
No.
Is that what you're saying for your application?
That's-
You're
Okay,
just eliminating.
so whose property is that?
it's town property. Outside the property line, it's not, town of Old Saybrook, they're not listed on the tax records, and neither is my client. So I would say it's town property.
Okay, because I had concerns with those spaces, when I looked at those spaces. were
They're
not
coming
your
out.
Property, so they're coming.
I apologize, when we first met, Chris Cox said, pack as much parking on the site as you can.
And then the sidewalks will be drawn on against Ferry Road,
Yeah, it's gonna weave,
right? They're just
there's
gonna follow the,
there's some phone poles that aren't shown, and
Right.
we around the phone poles and their mailboxes.
right, okay.
Which is why I said street trees up on Ferry Road are not a problem. I'll be more than happy to put them in.
You don't have a problem with the fill there?
No, because that's all natural material.
Oh, okay.
It was a bluff. It's that whole area, if you drive out there, you can see where the ledge comes up. And you can see where the river had worn away, and that's, they built these marinas, the easiest and simplest places they could.
Typically what happened prior to the regulations coming in is that, and like the, Ocean State property there, that's all filled. That was all done before wetlands
Yeah.
existed. Is that they would dry the sheets in, they dredge, and then you backfill it with the dredge material.
Right.
All right, just to create land.
Same
So,
with Saybrook County.
Exactly,
Saybrook, yes, that Saybrook Point's next most.
right.
Also Phil.
There was a question, I'm sorry, Casey, do you have other questions?
Yeah, no, I'm.
Go ahead. If you
No,
have-
the only other thing that I forgot was, the question about you're comfortable with creating cross easements to allow the parking across the different properties?
They already exist.
They already.
In other words,
Okay.
there's usually, one of the things I had asked about, and if you want, I'll be more than happy to submit a set of easements, but, especially the CLP easement. You know, I asked specifically for that one because that is so important. And they sent me over that easement, so if you want a copy, I'll send it to you.
I don't think, I would at least like to see them referenced in the notes.
They should be.
The easements would be good for land use department to have on file.
Okay.
Okay, so if you would, whatever easements you have, please submit those to the land use department.
Submit. To Chris.
And
Reference.
notation would be helpful on the.
If they're not there, maybe they are.
Okay.
Laura?
Well, I'm just having trouble understanding how you access this property. Is that where the bit
That's what-
drive is?
Yes, it comes in this way.
Yeah.
This goes to the house here,
Okay,
this goes to the office here, there's parking here, and then this goes. There's doors, I made a mistake here, there's doors here. Here. And here.
Okay.
So you come in,
it's hard to see the.
Yeah,
yeah,
Okay.
I apologize, I didn't mean to draw on your heads. I apologize. Show traffic flow. Yes, sir.
and you,
How many boats do you think would be stored here off season?
They gave me a number. Del, do you remember the number?
No, I don't, JP.
For some crazy reason, I wanna say 62 sticks in my head.
that's significant, it's probably more than 62.
Well, that's outside, not inside.
Outside.
That's outside. For some reason, 60, I will confirm that number.
So
How many
would you
boats?
be able to use temporary, what are they called, curb stops for the parking? To take out so that you could,
That's what I'm saying is extremely difficult, especially in a,
they don't exist? Like,
their wheel stops are normally anchored with 2 rebars. If the next time you're in a parking space, it's got a wheel stop, take a look at it. You'll see 2 holes about 6 inches in from the end. And then what they do is they drive 24-inch rebars down through those holes, and that anchors the wheel stop. Well, now you lift the wheel stop, and now you gotta pull those rebars. And that's what I said, it sounds relatively simple in theory, but in practice, if you're in a hurry.
I'm surprised they don't have something that's more temporary and easier to remove.
As soon as a car hits a wheel stop, if you look at, see how much curb is damaged. When you drive into parking fields, and you see how the curbs are banged up.
Yeah.
Trucks with plow frames, trucks with plows are especially brutal on those. And, bituminous curbs, you'll see them stacked up all over the place where the guys in them with a plow. That's why a lot of towns use granite and concrete, because they're much more difficult, because that's one of the reasons why granite's so popular, is because it's almost indestructible. But bituminous, especially in parking fields, they're famous for getting you ripped out.
Mike, did you have any question?
No, the only thing is I wanted to confirm when you were talking about, I just love my picture of the tree line up by the street.
Yeah. I have a few, they're part of Jacobson's and other comments that we have on our documents. One of the things that was submitted in the application was for certificate of zoning compliance for signs, is there was nothing proposed, although it's mentioned, there's no calculation in the box provided. It's mentioned just above in the application as a 6-foot diameter sign mounted on.
Can you go back to the, hey, Dal, can you go back to the elevations of the building? There's
I
a
sure can.
Number two, in Mr. Jacobson's letter, existing wall and sign located at the facility entrance at the frontage should be shown on the drawing, which is not, to determine conformance with setback requirements and any conflicts with the parking spaces that are shown in the area. In addition, existing telephone poles and mailboxes should also be
Correct.
assumed. But you're talking about a sign on the building, right, which he's gonna bring
Right
up,
there.
was not, in my looking at the paperwork, was not detailed out on the compliant.
It's a 6 foot
I know
diameter.
what the sign is, I'm talking about the paperwork.
Oh, okay, so the paperwork for the sign.
It looks like it's incomplete to me.
I'll be honest with you, I thought we submitted. Because one of the applications is for a sign.
There is one, it's a compliant, certificate of zoning compliance for signs, okay?
Okay.
And in it, in the middle of it, it takes wall one and it gives you the parameters of what is allowed in sizing to figure out the square footage. That's incomplete on this app.
Okay.
On this,
So,
you mentioned this sign, so that sign has to be accounted for on this.
so I have to modify,
And ARB really needs to see that, because that's one of their responsibilities as a commission.
okay, they did see the sign, but I will modify the certificate of zoning compliance,
Yep.
which is the one for the sign.
Right.
Okay, certificate. And that's modify the application.
Yeah, that application has to be completed. It's not completed. It's not complete. In my,
If, or sign. Okay,
Then the two questions.
That's the next ARB meeting, it needs to be here tomorrow. Amended.
I'm sorry, what's that?
well, it can also, yeah, they could also, it could be a condition of approval too, in our March meeting, but. May want to ask Sarah to send an email to Chris and get a clarification on it. Okay. It doesn't appear that on Mr. Jacobson's letter on number 4's section C, that any of that has been addressed, in any discussions this evening.
You said, page 2 of 6?
Yeah, page 2, under site plan review,
Yeah,
number 4, letter C. They addressed the parking up front, which you did mention, the access drive with only scales approximately 10 feet, although the entire area is surfaced. And it goes on further detail, so that's something that you're gonna have to,
yes,
address.
correct.
Also on the same letter and item number 6, there's no, drawing or specifications for the handling of roof runoff.
Yes, and that we'll have a discussion with Mr. Jacobs about
And
that.
that has to be spelled out on the plans as well.
Correct, we're,
Right, I'm just trying to
no,
make sure we're on the same page, that's all.
yes,
There was number 7, it has to be addressed with the the hay bales. There was a question about the elevation. Under the floodplain review, the second paragraph. Because you're at 5.5 when it should be, I think it was 13. So the things as a result that have to be detailed out because you're at 5.5 with types of materials. You know, the gypsum and stuff that has to.
Del should have that in his review
Yes,
letter.
I've addressed that on my document.
So we just need to get Mr. Jacobson's response back from that if that's
Yes.
adequate. And you did state that the ADA restroom on the first floor has been eliminated.
Yes, correct.
Yes,
Right.
that's in his review letter of 129.
Yeah.
I apologize, that's why this got crossing in
All
the.
right, so just for clarification, okay? on your letter dated January 29th,
Sure,
okay? Under site plan review, number 2, you state shown on revised plan, but we don't have that plan,
that's correct.
okay?
You have the PDF, that's correct.
So we need to see that. It's the same thing about the sidewalks.
Correct,
Because you're gonna add those now.
correct.
I counted 79 parking spaces before you indicated that some of those were coming out at the,
Yeah.
by the street level.
I
Okay,
think I was down to 75.
you were down to 75, so my number was off from yours, but that's because you eliminated some up here.
Yes.
Correct? Okay. Cross easements,
I'll provide
we
those.
need those. Okay. The street trees. You're
Yes,
going,
you
you're going.
want
to
street
address.
trees, sidewalk.
Yeah. And there's a set regulation in our requirements
Yes.
about every 40 feet, I believe it is.
Yes, you have
There
those.
has to be one, it has to be a certain caliber, okay, you've got all that,
That'll all be put on there.
all right, we talked about the wheel stops, the van, the ADA space next to the office is van accessible.
Yes, there's two. There's one next to the office and one against the bulkhead.
Okay.
That'll show on the revised plans.
Okay, so all of a number of your comments on your letter
Actually gonna change.
were referred to this set of drawing, not the drawings that we have. So
Correct.
as we get a revised set that we can
And then
look
even
at.
that's gonna change now based on your comments.
Right, so we'll need that in
Correct.
advance time before the next meeting, so.
You want it by the 9th.
Okay, so we have time to review.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and the same thing goes for Dell as well,
Yes,
correct?
Okay, thank you. Yes.
or excuse me, the 19th.
You addressed the colors on the siding from Gateway Commission. And your other reviews were favorable. Those are some of the bigger ones I have. I have a couple comments, questions that came up on the drawing that I had for you. Do you have any floor drains in this new building?
No,
Okay, what about in the either office or surface area?
there are no floor drains. I will confirm that.
All right, we need to know that. Because you're indicating that the area is gonna be for storage and service. Service, I assume, would be off season more than in season.
I would imagine both.
If you're gonna store boats indoors, you're gonna probably take up most of that space. Just need to confirm there's no floor drain.
Floor drains.
Okay.
They're I have to go into the holding tank.
I counted, I think it was 26 smart vents. Is that correct, Del?
That's correct, yes. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that-
26 and within a floor vent, there are,
Right.
those vents, there are 4 units within 1 square. So they're 26 times 4, actually.
Yeah, they look like they're double stacked.
They are. That's correct, yep.
On the proposed east elevation of the building where the electrical equipment will be,
Yeah.
what elevation will those be at?
That is at elevation, it's at 13.0, 7.6 above the floodplain. Let me sketch you there for a second. That is here. So it's 7, this is 5.5, 7 feet up, 7.5 feet up. So it's elevation 13 right to that point right there.
And we need to be at 13.
13, base flood is elevation.
Just
9 and
13,
11.
is it flat 13 or is it a little higher?
It's flat 13. 5.5 plus 7.5.
Oh, it meets that. This is a flat roof building,
It is.
is it sloped to any side?
Yes, it does slope. It slopes to the rear. It slopes to the west side and to the east side.
What's the highest point on the building?
32 foot 11 feet.
So it's
No,
under.
no, sorry, no, it's a little bit higher. It's a little bit higher at the ridge. It's 33 foot 11.
33, so it's still under the 35.
Yep.
The, only two garage doors into the building?
No, this is a garage door, and this is a garage door, and this is a garage door, and this is, let me go to this, let me go to the model. So it shows it better. Look, right here, this is a garage door.
I didn't.
One,
Yeah,
two,
I didn't
three,
read that.
four.
I missed that. My mistake.
Yeah.
Because those are hydraulic doors, correct?
Yes, they are, yep.
Right. Also missing on the front page is the signature line.
That's correct.
All right, and then we typically also get the charts that indicate parking, landscaping,
That's on
et
page,
cetera.
I think the zoning chart's on page C2. My site's development sheets. In the lower, on the left-hand side of the drawing on C2, there should be
So they're all
a zoning chart along with the
those covered.
parking, which has to be modified.
Building, I see. Why am I not? I'm not seeing. Maybe it's me. I don't see parking.
It should be, Dell's got the drawing right here, but it should be right underneath those, the parking, or the zone charts.
Lot, minimum
It's
feet per square.
It's in the notes underneath.
It's in the
zoning
notes.
Chart,
It's not in the chart.
like, right under the zoning information, yeah,
Gotcha.
there, it's in the notes.
Okay.
I don't know.
Could
if
you
that-
move the parking up into the zoning
Yes,
information?
sir.
Okay, make it easier and clearer.
No problem.
I think that's everything I had.
Will we get a revised Jacobson letter to?
Yeah, we need to get a response from Jacobson to their response to see where.
And then
It's-
just a reminder point, you might have mentioned, you said the application was incomplete, and you were talking about the dimensions things, I just want to add, they have to answer the two questions up on the signature. And is there no sketch, or is that little teeny?
I didn't
something
find,
on
there
the
was
side?
reference to a sketch, but I didn't see one.
Seems like it's attached to sketch.
That's, I'll fix that, okay. I'll fix that.
Yeah.
We showed it on the architectural drawings.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a 6-foot bullseye.
The sketch of the sign, you mean?
Yeah, it's on the site, all of this is a 6-foot diameter bullseye, there's no sign, there's no, like a billboard that says, Safe Harbor Marina. The only sign that says Safe Harbor Marina, that's it right there, is up at the street. There's
At the entrance, there's one there now.
there's a small sign with 3 bushes around it.
Right.
And that's it right there,
Right.
that's the sign, that's, if you didn't know it was Safe Harbor Marina,
Right.
that ain't gonna tell you,
Right.
but.
Looks like the insert of the 45 record.
Was that?
It looks like the insert
Yeah.
is 45 record.
Well, normally these places, like, you drive down the river and they've got signs that are 2 feet high by 60 feet long on the side of the building.
So this is discreet.
Yeah,
All right, does anyone else have questions? Do you have any, are we clear?
no, I think you've been,
Questions, Jan?
please, I think I've got everything.
Okay. Then, I'd make a motion to continue to our March 2nd meeting. The Safe Harbor Marina Ferry Point application for special exception permit and coastal site plan review. Seconded by Robin. Any discussion? Anyway, all in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Pass, passes 500. On March 2nd, we have a new start time at 6 p.m.
I like that.
Okay.
I like that, thank you.
We do too. Just as a reminder. And we thank you for your time.
No, thank you very much for the input. This is what I'm hoping to get so I can clean these things up.
Yep.
You start time at 6 o'clock. Did you get that, Dal?
Yes, 6 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Okay.
I know.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Continuing on to C, Walmart application for special exception permit to add a online pickup door, reconfigure the parking lot, including 11 pickup spaces, new signs and safety improvement at 665 Boston Post Road, Assessors Map 36, Lot 103, Shopping District Center, B2 District, pedestrian node. Applicant is Walmart. The agent is Jeff Ford, PE. Action is to open public hearing, continue or close by March 2nd, 2026, and no later than March 8th of 2026. Jeff?
Good
Welcome.
evening. You guys
Good
hear me
evening.
okay?
Yep.
Sounds good. Would someone be able to make Jeff Davis a presenter as well, or a
Sure.
panelist?
Sure.
Jeff Davis is with PB2 Architects. And good evening. For the record, my name is Jeff Board, professional engineer in the state of Connecticut with Bowler Engineering. Here on behalf of Walmart for the existing Walmart facility at 665 Boston Post Road. Just to give everybody a little bit of history, as it's been quite some time now, and you guys have been gracious enough to see us a few different times. On September 8th of last year, we had gone to an ARB meeting for what they're calling their online pickup program, where essentially they're relocating some of their online pickup stalls and enhancing the number. So currently, there's 8 existing online pickup stalls. They're going to 11 and then shifting them away from the front of the store. And I could share my screen here. Let me know if you guys can see my screen okay.
Yes.
Great. So essentially, you're probably all familiar with the Walmart here, and this is the area in question where originally there was 8 pickup stalls, and as I'll show you momentarily, they're just increasing that to 11 and shifting things over to the left here and introducing a new door on this northern facade. And that's something that we went through with ARB and subsequently on September 15th had come back and received a denial from this commission. We had kind of been nearsighted in what this was, and we had looked at it simply as a parking lot modification, and we were enhancing some of the, sprucing up some of the parking stalls, and we had kind of just focused on that one thing. And the commission and you folks, and I feel like some of the other ones who recently had retired had brought up a lot of good points about other nonconformities on site that we essentially brought back to Walmart to basically revamp this site plan. So on top of that, you guys were also gracious enough to hold an informal zoning meeting on November 17th, right before the holiday, where we came in and presented a lot of, I guess, the proposed enhancements, some of which included lighting updates. I know that had been big at the ARB level, where this existing shopping center has the old shoebox style fixtures, the really bulky ones. And it was questionable whether or not those had been at the appropriate height or not. They seemed as if they might be just over the 14-foot requirement. So we brought that to Walmart and came back, and they're basically updating all of those fixtures with dark sky compliant LED fixtures in all locations where there's currently a light pole. They also had comments regarding all of the ADA accessible stalls, which the current plans now propose to basically bring those into current standards and regulations. So if I switch to the site plan here, this is basically where those new online pickup stalls will be located on the northern side of the parking lot with access to a new door on this northern face of the building here. And then all of the ADA stalls are being restriped, and then contractors ensuring compliance as far as any sort of grading goes, less than 2%, cross slopes, and then 5% longitudinal on the ADA paths of travel. There had been some discussion, I believe, and Walmart certainly appreciated it, but in this location right here, we heard from a couple of commissioners, and whether or not you guys are sitting there right now, there had been some sightline issues. And I think if I still have it open here, I can show you. Can you guys see my Google Earth?
Yes.
Yep.
Great. So there had been some issues on the corner, rightfully so, where we heard feedback that people have had to get out of their car even to see around this corner just because of how overgrown things had gotten. And I think this picture kind of tells that story pretty significantly. And we had our landscape architects basically go out to the site and analyze this location in particular. And part of the plans that came back to you guys had removed these larger trees as, I guess, whatever variety this was shouldn't have been planted there. It just gets unruly, and if it's not trimmed back, then it gets to be like this and probably get even larger in the future if nothing's done about it. So that was one thing that will be taken care of, regardless of this application. I feel like that was a positive thing. And I guess the biggest thing and the elephant in the room would be regarding the signage. And I think partly why this received that denial back in September was just the mere fact that there had been, a number of existing site signs that, again, we had not looked at given the scope of work. And seeing, walking the site, you guys having walked the site, we did a sign inventory analysis, and there was quite a few signs, to your point, that one already got taken away. There was an existing sign that was like zip tied on the fence, which was brought up at one of the meetings. There were some hour of operation signs that were redundant. Those were been removed. Walmart agreed to remove all of the row numbers. So there was 10 rows. They had been identified by a placard with numbers on them. Those are all now removed from this site plan. And then there was several other miscellaneous signs with dead end parking, no idling signs, cart corral signs that have all been removed from the application, just based on that previous feedback. There had also been some discussion. There was a proposed canopy on the building over here, which was triggering the need for a variance just from a square footage standpoint. So the feedback we received at the informal meeting was to basically get rid of the canopy and not change any of the square footage of the existing building. So that's now unchanged from what's currently out there, other than the new door locations, but there's no square footage being added. And then the last thing that we did was, it was pointed out that, and it was by Jacobs in one of their first letters, that the landscaping in the existing lot, which again has been functioning in its current place for a number of years, was not compliant. We didn't have the correct amount of interior landscaped islands, which now we do. So we added a chart that signified what those landscaping requirements were on the site plan. And if you could see my screen, we had added an island on the northeast side, another one right on the northern edge, and then we added another one in this location on the right-hand side. And that had been to provide the separation. There was a couple areas where we had too many parking stalls in one continuous row, that we had to basically, introduce an island. So on top of that, the only other things we're doing is, at the same time, they're sprucing up their stop bars, their stop signs, all the safety signage that would normally go into a site like this is all being updated as shown in the dark grays there. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I missed. There was a lot of good feedback at these previous meetings. We did go to ARB again, just January 12th. It was our second trip there with a favorable recommendation based on what Jeff Davis and his team had done on the building facade and all the signs associated with it. They stressed the sightline issues, which have been addressed, and they were appreciative of the fact that Walmart had agreed to redo all of their lighting, not only with new fixtures that were full cutoff, but also introduce new poles to ensure that they were less than 14 feet in height. I'm trying to think.
ARB also had a recommendation to extend the speed bump at the west end of the parking lot to deter speeding and refrain from putting signage on light posts and remove stop for pedestrians and crosswalk signage as unnecessary, was in their recommendation to us.
Yep, yeah, and in our mind, I think from a stop sign standpoint, we looked at both of those. The speed bump that they were talking about starts to interfere with some of the loading facilities that are on that northeastern side of the building. So there wasn't a great place to put a speed hump in that location that would deter people from, going around it and affecting the loading operations. And as far as the stop signs go, it would be our recommendation, just from a public safety standpoint, and we'd want to keep them on the plan, to have them in the event that there is a stop bar that's covered, or, it doesn't deter people from, going through a stop sign and creating a vehicular conflict, where one could exist today, I guess, without having those in place. So that would be typical of a commercial parking lot. And then the only other thing, and I guess it's worth addressing, similar to the previous application, we did receive a letter from Jacobson. Again, it was our second letter, a lot of similar comments from the previous submission, the majority of which we have addressed. However, we received it on January 19th, so we haven't submitted any revised plans here. Although similar, again, to before, the one big thing that he's pointing out in here, and I can go through the other items as well, but the biggest thing which we asked you guys about in that informal meeting were the light pole bases, in the sense that it's an existing store, and Walmart, as opposed to taking down all of the bases, redoing all the electrical conduit throughout the entirety of the center, was proposing to leave the bases where they are. And the new code says they got to be 5 feet behind the curb. There's several instances where it's like 3 feet. So the consensus and what we had asked at that informal meeting was, if we had done the poles and the new fixtures, would you be amenable to not redoing all of the lighting for the entire center, essentially? The one thing that we wanted to chat about this evening was some of those poles and the bases are raised, and you guys have a requirement for them to be flush. And at the very least, I know Jacobson had mentioned that right now they're currently painted yellow, and there's a requirement that they're painted a dark color, which I know we'd be amenable to doing. But I just wanted to get a sense from the commission what your thoughts were, and if it was still in line to what we had spoke about during the informal meeting, regarding the location, just given the fact that it's an existing parking lot with current light levels.
So your question is, do we want you to remove them and replace them at level to the surface? Or can they stay where they are and paint them a dark color?
Exactly right, because essentially, like you could see even in this instance here, a lot of them are like 2 feet behind the curb. It would require us to basically go through the entire parking lot, rip up all the concrete bases that go down quite a ways with some land disturbance, redo the electrical conduit to shift it back a foot or two to then reset it. Whereas now what Walmart's agreed to do is at least replace all of the poles so that they're less than 14 feet, and then put the new dark sky compliant slim LED lights in place of the heads that are currently out there. And that was the lighting plan that got sent. So that would be the proposal, is that this yellow color would just be painted dark to meet the regulation. They just wouldn't be the 5 feet back from the curb in all instances, because it's an existing lot.
And the new light poles that would be put in would not exceed 14 feet, including the fixture itself.
Correct.
And
Yeah,
that
that, you guys made that pretty clear at the previous meeting, and that's what the lighting designer had designed these new fixtures to, within these same pole locations.
Does the 14 feet include the base also?
Yeah, it wouldn't be on top of, so the pole height would probably be variable from 11 feet to 12 feet, depending on how high the bases are, where it's
The
located.
base,
Okay.
the regulation is the base has to be flush, so then it's 14 feet.
Right.
It's 14 feet above that.
Elevated as long as the overall height is 14 feet. Then
Okay.
we're okay.
And which typically on our construction documents, when we do submit them, we'll have notes to the contractor about the pole heights, because that can be a big issue when they start ordering poles and having to retrofit
Right.
them.
Well, I think the latest drawing that we have is from what is it, December? Yeah, December 11th of last year.
Correct.
These haven't been updated with anything relative to Jacobson's questions or your agreements from Walmart, is that correct?
Yeah, and there was not very many on here that required plan updates, which again is why we wanted to check. So we got the letter on January 19th,
Yep.
and I didn't want to
Yeah.
confuse you guys with new hard copies ahead of this.
Sure.
That was the biggest design change.
Yep.
There's other things on here that we're certainly in agreement to, one of the comments had been that the trees we did propose in these new islands were only 2.5-inch caliper trees. In talking to our landscape architect and based on Jacobson's recommendation of 3.5 inches caliper, that does enhance the likelihood that that tree will survive. So we're amenable to doing that. And our landscape architect can get the same trees in that larger caliper size. So that we're certainly amenable to doing. Let's see.
I think, speaking on behalf of the commissioner, and if they don't agree, please speak up. Is that we would like to see a written response from you to Jacobson's January 19th letter as to what you agree to or don't agree to, based on his comments. And from there, we would be able to then have an updated set of prints to review. But there, most of what is on here refers to non-conformities
Yep.
that have been done over the years that we would like to try and get as much done as possible. I know in the question for the light posts versus the bases, I think we would probably agree to have you repaint them than to remove them and reinstall for a foot or something of that, as long as we adjust the poles and the lighting and stuff. So there's flexibility on our part, but we'd like to see a written response from you relative to his January 19th letter as to what you're will do or won't do.
Yep, that would be great. And similar, I know hearing some of the feedback and whatnot, normally we'll do a full response to comment letter. We'll respond, point out what page it's on to help his review process,
Yep.
and then hopefully look to have a clean letter and or, on some of these things, I'll mention this conversation because we got those comments previously where he's just reiterating the fact that there's an existing nonconformity still.
Right, and it has to do with parking spaces, it has to do with snow storage.
Yep.
Light poles, we already talked about, the interior islands after every 10 spaces. So we'd like to see where Walmart's gonna align on those situations. So if you're able to do that, and given the time, if you were agreeable to continue this to our March 2nd meeting, I think with that information at that time, we'd probably be able to reach a conclusion for you.
Yep, yeah, there's not a lot of plan changes here, so we'd be able to turn that around pretty quick to give Jacobson some time to review this and get it back to you guys, so.
Yeah, right. I have a question from Casey.
Yeah, maybe this is more of the commission. I noticed. Sorry.
No, that's right.
I noticed that there was a sort of discussion in the comments about the seasonal storage.
Right.
And we're already below the required parking requirement.
Yep.
So I thought maybe that was something we might want to give some direction on tonight. And also I noticed that we're already below the parking and we are reducing it slightly. I know that's maybe in order to meet the landscaping requirements. I don't.
I can address some of that. So essentially, when we do come back and respond to the parking, we'll clarify some of the comments he had regarding that, but we'll also try to there's existing easements in place because a lot of people that come into Walmart still park in the other area where they enter through this portion. So the area of parking that we calculated as part of their lease area is technically only in the back here. So even though it says we're 30 spaces short, they still have access. The whole center has a shared parking easement in place. So we could certainly look to clarify that in here without a problem.
Yeah.
Casey, on that point, my feeling is there's more than enough
Yes,
parking
I agree.
in that location.
Yeah.
I've never been there, even with the seasonality of their outdoor garden, that it's ever been all the way back and full, so.
And I think to answer your question too on the seasonal, sorry.
Yeah.
On the seasonal storage, to put you a little bit at ease, I know the owner is responsible and Walmart's responsible for submitting their seasonal outdoor storage plan to Chris Costa every year when they go to do that. So it gets reviewed internally by the town and has been for a number of years. So they'll continue to operate the same way.
Right.
Yeah.
There was a couple of things missing on the drawings too, like the there's a storage shed or something.
Yeah, we added a couple of those things, and again, we had some of that, there was like two
Fine.
trees missing, but we got most of it on there from the original Jacobson letter. But yep, that's not a problem. So we'll look to formalize an official response to comment. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else we need clarification on. Everything else.
Okay, one other question for
Just
you.
one quick thing, and I'm sure you've seen it, that Jacobs wanted additional bollards at the entrance.
We talked about it in our.
You
other
mentioned
meeting, too.
before, but I just want to make sure that's on your radar as well.
I missed what you said there. Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Yes, in Jacob's letter,
Yep.
he's talking about installing additional bollards at the.
Oh,
building.
yes. That, you just reminded me of one thing. So there's a total of 15 bollards right now at the front of the store. And there's one area, which again, I wanted to just get your guys' feedback on this. Their only area, there's several bollards. The only area we identified with flanking the store, the thought was to put an additional one bollard here and one bollard here, right where that car is. And then everything else around the corner is pretty tight together. And then on top of that, we're introducing another 3 bollards in front of the garden center door. So I know that had come up originally and we didn't throw out a number at that informal meeting.
Right.
But in analyzing this, these were the 2 locations we identified to just make that tighter, so you weren't technically able to get a car through it.
Okay.
If you guys
What
are
about,
okay.
what about in front of the doors that you're gonna install for online sales? Are there any
Yep,
bollards?
there's another 3 there as well. And that
Okay.
one's a bit out of the way, but we still put 3
Yeah.
there just to have them there. So there'll be a total, I believe, of 21 bollards, 22 bollards, something like that. At the
Okay.
3 entrances.
Sounds good. I think that's all the questions we have. Any clarifications you need from us?
I don't think so. Again, I think it was that only the base thing with the light poles. So if I tell Jacobson, we've agreed to leave those as is, but we're gonna paint them dark with new poles and
Yep.
new fixtures, that comment should go away, and then everything else we should be able to clarify.
I think if you paint them the same color as the poles,
Yep,
which is a color, it would be fine.
great. That's not a
So I'd
problem.
like, I'll make a motion to continue, to our March 2nd meeting for the Walmart application for special exception permit to add an online pickup door and reconfigure parking lot. Seconded by, Robin. Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstained, passes 500. So we'll see you on March 2nd, and we start at 6 p.m. now.
I
on that
appreciate
date.
that.
Okay?
All right, thank you all. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Have a good evening. There's, Chris didn't give anything, for me from committee representative or staff report. She did send out a few weeks ago, kind of like where things are at. We did get some new applications in that will be at our, upcoming February 18th meeting. I think we got Sheffield Street and we got Whispering Winds. And so we'll be getting that information, as well. Any questions or comments? Entertain a motion to adjourn?
Just real quick.
Oh, yeah, I don't know why we got that.
Okay, that's, but
Yeah, I think it's addressed-
that's the parking that's right next door to where he built. This was referencing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that was it.
So I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
By Mike, all in favor? Opposed, passes 500. Thank you very much.